Hello friends, I'm Arpit and I'm here with today's analysis. Today is 14th of November, also happens to be the Children's Day, and I wish every one of you a very happy Children's Day. Today we are going to deal with two very important topics. The first is the Supreme Court has given a ruling on the minority status of Aligarh Muslim University. Aligarh Muslim University was established by a law in 1920, and hence in 1967 in the Aziz Basha case, the Supreme Court stated that universities established by law should not be called as a minority university. It lost its minority status. But yes, in November 2024, one of the last judgments of the outgoing CJI, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, he has proclaimed that Aligarh Muslim University cannot be, devoid of its minority status just only because of the fact that it has been formed due to a law. So this is basically the judgment which we need to see, which we will also see the arguments given by the judges. We'll also see the rights and I would say the powers of a minority institution in the country. Second is Antariksh Abhyas. Antariksh Abhyas happens to be the first ever space defense exercise conducted by India. The Defense Space Agency, Defense Cyber Agency, Defense Intelligence Agency, DRDO, ISRO, all were involved in this. The armed forces, that is Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force. So this is due to the rising threats to our space assets. These space assets enable communication, it enables socio-economic development, and countries are threatened that their space assets can be targeted by their enemy countries. So for that, this exercise was conducted, the first ever. Then we will be dealing with the MCQs based on these two topics and discussing the answers to the MCQs of yesterday. So the first topic, Supreme Court on Aligarh Muslim University. Now, as we know that Article 30 of our Constitution gives rights to the minorities communities to establish their own institutions. And in these institutions, religious knowledge or religious, I would say, education can be promoted, as well as secular education also can be promoted. The day-to-day administration of these organizations or these minority institutions will be the responsibility of the minority community. But yes, their overall regulation is under the state. So let's suppose a university, you know, it has to take grants or it has to take recognition from the organizations established by the state, like UGC recognized or AICTE approved. This is the state. It regulates that particular minority institution, but yes, day-to-day administration of that minority institution can be done by that minority community. This is what Article 30 of our Constitution gives. And now, Aligarh Muslim University, a very known university in Aligarh, established by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in 1920. Earlier, but yes, in 1920 it got a legal status. A law was passed for it. When we began our constitutional journey, it was recognized as a minority institution, but in 1967, in the Aziz Basha case, Supreme Court said that this should not be recognized as a minority institution. Why? Because it has been passed or it has been established by passing a law. And law is passed by the center. Generally, minority institutions are established by the minorities to, uphold their, you know, cultures, to uphold their practices and all. This is the ultimate essence of Article 30. And that is why Supreme Court in 1967 in the Aziz Basha case, finished it off. But yes, now November 2024, one of the last rulings of the outgoing CJI, he reversed the decision of the 1967 judgment of the Supreme Court, stating that merely if an institution is established by a law does not mean that it is not minority. We need to understand who established it, for what purpose it was established, and it was established for providing education, modern education and all to the Muslim community. So that is a landmark judgment, and this judgment can act like a precedent for other minority institutions also in the country. These institutions can be religious minority institutions or linguistic minority institutions. Now, history of AMU. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan established the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in Aligarh with the aim of providing modern education to Muslims in India. who were perceived to be socially and educationally backward. This institution later became Aligarh Muslim University. This Aligarh Muslim University Act was passed by the Indian Legislative Council in 1920, formally transforming the MAO college into Aligarh Muslim University. So this is basically that law, that statute by which is backing Aligarh Muslim University, and that became the reason in the Aziz Basha case for Supreme Court saying that this should not be recognized as a minority institution. So this particular case whose judgment has come out right now, this case began in 2006. We're discussing the background of this dispute. When Allahabad High Court cancelled changes made to the AMU Act. So AMU Act, which was passed in 1920, some changes were made to the AMU Act in 1981. And due to those changes, the Aligarh Muslim University again was established as a minority institution. So if I draw a timeline, 1920 AMU Act passed, 1950 our constitution came into existence, Article 30 gave minorities the right to establish their institutions, and AMU was recognized as a minority institution. 1967, the Aziz Basha case, AMU not a minority institution. 1981, AMU Amendment Act, AMU a minority institution. Then after this, cases were there in 2006. The case began in the Allahabad High Court. Allahabad High Court cancelled the changes, and Allahabad High Court says that in the Aziz Basha case judgment, Aligarh Muslim University was not recognized as a minority institution because it was established by the law, and government does not establish minority institutions. The minorities itself establishes them. And you know so the minority institutions should not be actually backed by laws. Basically, this was the, I would say, logic given by the judges in the 1967 Aziz Basha case. Now this case, Allahabad High Court cancelled it out. The petitioners appealed in the Supreme Court, and the appeal was going on in the Supreme Court, and now finally the Supreme Court has said ki bhai, Aligarh Muslim University is basically a minority institution. Now let us start with this Aziz Basha case, 1967. Supreme Court ruled that AMU was not a minority institution. Court said that because AMU was created by the government through a statute, it could not be considered a Muslim minority institution. 1981 amendment to the AMU Act was amended to state that AMU was created to benefit the Muslim community. Therefore, AMU was a minority institute. However, Supreme Court did not change its decision. It did not recognize AMU as a minority institution. It upheld the Aziz Basha case. 2005-6, AMU began offering reservations, special seats for Muslim students in its postgraduate medical courses. Now, let me tell you one thing, that if an institute is recognized as a minority institute, then reservations can be offered to that minority community, and reservations can be denied to scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and OBCs in those institutions. So this is what we need to understand. So it started offering reservations to Muslim students, means minorities. It was not recognized as, though a law was passed in 1981, Amendment Act was passed, but that was cancelled by the Supreme Court as well as the High Court, Allahabad High Court. Allahabad High Court ruled against this, again using the earlier 1967 decision as the basis for its judgment. From 2019 to 24, the case was sent to the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court for consideration, and finally, now November 2024, Supreme Court ruled that AMU can claim minority status, overturning the earlier decision of 1967, which simply means that reservation can be given to Muslim students and can be denied to scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and OBCs. This is what the powers of minority institutions are there according to the Constitution. Arguments of Centre and AMU for this particular issue. The central government argued that recognizing AMU as a minority institution could lead to many seats being reserved up to 50% for Muslim students, which would differ from other national universities. Make AMU a special institution different from other national universities, which could affect its functioning and governance. This is what central government is saying. Basically, this second point simply means that don't let AMU give reservation to the Muslims. Let it be SC, ST, OBC, and that particular element where the minority institutions were allowed to, govern their administration, day-to-day administration, that should be allowed for AMU. That is why it is written, make AMU a special institution different from other national universities, which could affect its functioning and governance. AMU's defense, AMU's legal team argued that Article 30 of the Indian Constitution protects the rights of minorities to establish and manage educational institutions. AMU's exemption from reservations for SC/ST was in line with minority rights, allowing the university to run the institution in a way that best serves the Muslim community's interest. This approach was balanced between minority rights and rights of other groups. So, AMU is saying that we want to manage our day-to-day affairs, which all the other minority institutions have the right to, and we also want to extend reservation to our minority community, because that was the purpose for which this university was established, that is socio-economic development of the Muslims. So we will be doing that, and we will not be giving reservations to SC/STs and OBCs. And the constitution says this, that any minority institutions can deny these reservations for SC/STs and OBCs. Now, the SC ruling in November 2024, it was a 4-3 majority decision. Basically, 7-judge bench was there, so majority had to be like this only. It overruled the 1967 Aziz Basha case and ruled that AMU can claim minority status. Stated that just because an institution is created by law does not mean it automatically loses its minority status. It emphasized that purpose and community involvement behind the institution's creation are most important than how it was created. So the purpose, we know, socio-economic development of the Muslim community, established by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Aligarh Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College, like this it was earlier. Now, the majority versus dissenting opinion. Majority means 4 judges said that, Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, now he is no more as the Chief Justice of India. He was leading the majority opinion, ruled that statutory creation, that is creation by a law, does not remove minority status. Court said that the important factor is who established the institution and for what purpose. The majority emphasized that minority institutions should be protected under Article 30, and that the legal process used to create the institutions does not change its identity. So basically, two things are there: procedure established by law and due process of law. Procedure established by law simply says that a law is there. If it is made by correct means, it has to be followed. Due process of law looks deeper into it, tries to understand the essence of the law, the purpose of the law. And the same thing happened over here. India has adopted both procedure established by law and due process of law. India since has established, adopted both in its judiciary. So here in this judgment, we can clearly identify that due process of law was given more importance. Dissenting opinion, Justice Dipankar Datta and other dissenting judges argued that AMU should not be recognized as a minority institution because it was created through a statute. They are saying the same thing which the judges were saying in the Aziz Basha case in 1967. Constitutional provisions referenced over here, Article 30, it grants minorities the rights to establish and manage educational institutions of their choice. Article 15(5) added in 2006. This provision allows minority institutions to not reserve seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. I have been telling you this, that they have this option of not reserving seats for SCs and STs, and this is mentioned in Article 15(5), which was added in 2006. Then Article 32 ensures that minority educational institutions are not treated unfairly by the state in terms of funding or regulation, because it is the duty of the state to fund and regulate these institutions. Day-to-day administration of these minority institutions have to be done by them. The key points of the court's judgment: minority status depends on purpose, not statutory creation. This, the 7-judge bench has clearly highlighted by giving this judgment in favor of making Aligarh University, Aligarh Muslim University, as a minority institution again. Second, state regulation cannot be discriminatory. Article 32, 30 clause 2 basically says that state should not discriminate in giving funds and regulating with the minority institutions. Minority rights include secular education. So these minority institutions not only will be giving, I would say, religious education, but they can be giving secular education as well. Like Aligarh Muslim University is important in giving secular and modern education. This is for the purpose for which this university was established. And no difference between institutions set up before or after the constitution. Does not matter if any institution is set up before the constitution came into force, like Aligarh Muslim University 1920, constitution came into force 1950. Doesn't matter. Those rights of those institutions which are classified as minority institutions, even established before the constitution came into force, will be having those rights. So these are the key takeaways from this particular judgment. Next is Antariksh Abhyas. Now, you might have heard about wars happening on the ground, wars happening in the air, wars happening in the waters. But wars happening in the space is something new. And yes, the defense assets are the new targets. And these defense assets are increasing day by day, year by year, not only of India, but of many countries. There is a lot of congestion over there in the space. If we have to launch satellites, we have to think and just imagine 50 years down the line, we'll have to think more and more. We'll have to, bring back those satellites which have stopped functioning, dismantle them. But the enemies have found another way. They are trying to target them. If communication satellite is targeted, communication on the ground level is lost. Military and all, if they are using those communication channels, they will not be able to communicate with each other, and the enemy country on ground will have an edge over us. This is called as space warfare. And, land, air, water were three, I would say, areas where we were strengthening our defense. We have another domain added, that is space now. And this exercise, Antariksh Abhyas, is a testament to this fact that, India is looking for securing its space assets. And this is the first ever space exercise, Antariksh Abhyas, organized by Defense Space Agency under the Headquarters Integrated Defense Staff. This 3-day exercise aims to enhance India's understanding of the strategic importance of space in military operations and, safeguard our space assets. Objectives: Antariksh Abhyas 2024 is designed to wargame the growing threats to space-based assets, secure national strategic objectives in space, integrate India's space capabilities into broader military operations, and identify vulnerabilities in military operations that could arise from disruptions or denial. Like I was telling you that if any communication satellite is attacked, so on the ground the military will not be able to communicate. That is a vulnerability, and we need to identify such kind of vulnerabilities, and we need to find alternates to that even if these are attacked, we should have a backup plan. So that is how we are thinking. Purpose and goals: the primary goals of Antariksh Abhyas 2024 are enhanced understanding of the space and space based assets and services, and how they are integrated into military operations. Operational dependency: to highlight the dependence on space capabilities for modern warfare and defense strategies. Vulnerability assessment: to identify vulnerabilities and challenges in the conduct of military operations. And collaboration: foster collaboration among different military branches. Obviously, ISRO will also be involved over here with the military branches, various military branches like Defense Cyber Agency, Defense Space Agency, Defense Intelligence Agency, DRDO, ISRO, the armed forces, all were there. So coordination has to be there among all if we need to achieve safety over here. And we've started looking towards this, and we should be, this is the right time. We should, strengthen our defense capabilities in this domain as well. Participants: Defense Space Agency. The key agency leading this exercise is Defense Space Agency. Indian Armed Forces. Army, Navy, Air Force. वैसे तो Indian Armed Forces are Army, Navy, Air Force and Indian Coast Guard. But yes, here the tri-services, Army, Navy and Air Force were there. Defense Cyber Agency. This agency plays a crucial role in maintaining the cyber assets of the defense agencies and all. Defense Intelligence Agency, it is crucial for gathering intelligence. So space-based intelligence also is crucial. Strategic Forces Command, involved in understanding the role of space in nuclear deterrence. And ISRO and DRDO. ISRO, our space agency, DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. If any weapons need to be developed for targeting or saving our space assets, we need to bring into board DRDO also. That is why these are the participants which participated in this particular exercise, and collaboration among these and coordination among these is a very vital factor to ensure safety to our space assets. Opening address by the Chief of Defence Staff, Mr. Anil Chauhan. So he said that space is no longer just the final frontier but a crucial enabler for India's defence capabilities. So just an example, the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System IRNSS, or I would say we call it NAVIC, Indian GPS basically, that has two purposes. One is military, second is civilian. The military purposes, it will give navigation assistance to our military, but this navigation assistance will be given till only 1500 kilometers from India. But yes, it will be giving military assistance also. So it has two purposes, military purpose, and the second is this civilian purpose, that is for us, Google Maps and all we use, that is the civilian use of these navigation satellites and all. So space is being used for military purposes. So that is why he is saying that space is no longer just the final frontier, but a crucial enabler for India's defense capabilities. India, with its strong legacy in space exploration and growth of or growing military capabilities, is well positioned to tackle challenges related to space-based assets. He highlighted the need for India to secure its national interest in space as the domain is becoming congested. More space objects and activities are crowding the area. Contested. Competition is increasing for control and access to space. Competitive nations and private players are vying for space superiority, and commercial. The space sector is becoming an important part of the global economy. So we need to, venture into it more and more. Take care for commercial purposes, for scientific purposes, we are excelling in space and we are known for low cost launches. But yes, this domain is something which is gaining prominence now, and we need to focus on these domains or this particular domain right now, I would say, and we need to increase our capabilities over here as well. So this Antariksh Abhyas is the first ever, but yes, the step in the right direction it is. Are we late? Well, not so much late, but yes, we should be doing it. We should be giving equal focus to it. And if we are able to do it, we can extend this soft power to other countries as well, because many countries in the world would be wanting to secure their defense assets, because the defense assets of many countries are increasing. That is why congestion has been there. Now we come to the MCQs. First is, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Aligarh Muslim University is established by a statute. The Aziz Basha case gave the status of a minority institute to AMU. Which of these statements are correct? Simple question, but yes, mindfully do it. Second, which of the following was a reason cited in the Aziz Basha case for AMU not being declared as a minority institution? AMU was offering reservation to SC/ST, which it should not be doing. It was established before the constitution was adopted. It was established by a law. None of the above. Third question, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Minority institutions can be regulated by the state. Minority institutions can offer religious education. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Fourth, which of these organizations did not participate in Antariksh Abhyas? Defense Cyber Agency, Armed Forces, Defense Intelligence Agency, and last is Central Armed Police Forces. Fifth, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Antariksh Abhyas is the first ever space exercise conducted by India. Antariksh Abhyas aims to secure India's defense assets. Which of these statements are correct? Now the MCQs of 13th November. Consider the following statements with respect to Toto tribe and mark the correct one. Toto tribes live alongside the Indo-Bhutan border. Yes, this is very true. Toto tribes lives on the bank of Mahananda river. It is not Mahananda river, it is Torsa river. So this statement is wrong. Okay. The first statement is right. So only one is going to be the correct answer. Which of these threats are being faced by the Toto tribes? Low birth rate, out migration, excessive pollution in their habitat, This is being faced. That is why the population is very low. Outmigration by the younger generation. Yes. Excessive pollution in their habitat. No, their habitat is there in a biodiversity zone, or I would say a protected area, and which is very good, maintained, well maintained and all. So this is not true. Only 1 and 2 is going to be the correct answer. Hence B. Third, consider the following statements about PVTGs and mark the correct one. PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal group. There are 75 tribal groups classified as PVTG currently. Yes. Low level of literacy and economic backwardness are criteria to classify tribals as PVTGs. Apart from it, if they are having a low or stagnant population, that is also a criteria. And if they are using primitive forms of agriculture practices, that is also a criteria. So there are 4 criteria: primitive form of agricultural activities, low or stagnant population, low levels of literacy, and low levels of or high levels of economic backwardness. So both of these statements are correct. So C is going to be the correct answer for this. Fourth, consider the following statements with respect to river Sutlej and mark how many of them are correct. So this, I think, question is misplaced. Mark which of them are correct. That should be the correct question. Which river Sutlej originates in China and merges with Ravi in India? So China, ठीक है, Tibet it originates, but it merges with the Bias river. And on the Sutlej Bias link, I would say that confluence, there is this dam called as, not dam but barrage called as the Harike barrage. So Bias, Sutlej. Harike barrage diverts this Indira Gandhi canal system, which irrigates Punjab, Haryana, and Rajasthan. Then on the Sutlej river, we have this Bhakra Nangal dam also built. This statement is correct. This statement is wrong. Okay. So only 2 is going to be the correct answer. Last question, which of these rivers is classified as western rivers according to Indus Water Treaty? So western rivers are those rivers which are there in the hills: Indus, Jhelum, Chenab. Eastern rivers are Sutlej, these are in the plains, Bias and Ravi. So which of these rivers is classified as western rivers? So Jhelum is the answer. Ravi, Bias and Sutlej, all 3 are eastern rivers. So A is going to be the correct answer. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I'll be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.